that one out. All right, everybody. Hello, and welcome back to more of Sakura Wars. So long, my love. I am, as always, Bograt or Josh. So as you may remember, if you watched our last stream of this, we stopped off just before the start of the first actual combat. Now I did want to mention it. I didn't bring it up last time around, at least admittedly partially because I kind of forgot it existed. So they do have names for the systems in this game. The combat system is referred to as the ARMS system, which stands for Active and Real-Time Machine System. And the... go ahead. Yep, and the best one is those little like choices and whatnot in the actual visual novel sections also have a name for that system. That would be the Live and Interactive Picture System, otherwise known as LIPS. And each of the variants thereon actually has a... Oh, hold on a second. I turned widescreen hack off. It must have turned itself back on. Hold on. Technical difficulties. Oh. We'll be back in just a second here. Just gotta fix the setting in Dolphin. Alright, we should be back up here. Yep, so it should be all set. Right, so as I was saying, each of the different versions, each of the different sort of ways you interact with lips has its own particular name. So if it's just a regular like question that pops up and has, the brief timer on it and just wants you to answer the question before time runs out, that is called the normal lips. The ones where I have to sort of tilt to increase or decrease the intensity of a single answer is known as analog lips. The ones where I have to do the sort of quick time event button sequences are known as stick lips. The ones where we have the sort of like when we were in like Jiminy's apartment and we're able to kind of look around and look at stuff and whatnot, those are click lips. And then the one where the big timer shows up all around the edge of the screen and we have multiple selections to make within the time limit are known as double lips. I'm debating whether or not I want to actually talk about this character right now, because I don't think we technically get an introduction to them just at the moment. Sure, we'll go with that. My only real hesitation on agreeing with your statement there, Shiv, is there's some localization differences. It pretty much boils down to, in the Japanese version, that character is at best androgynous, but almost certainly male. We get it, you're a lawyer. Yeah. Oh yeah, advance warning, by the way. We don't run into it much during the visual novel sections. During the battle stuff, there may very well be sound glitches. This is not actually necessarily an issue with the emulator. This game kind of pushes even what the Wii could do, so... Yep. That's our ready mode. It's how we show we're good to go. Yep. So this is how you would get a battle tutorial normally. I'm not going to bother with it, honestly. It's pretty simplistic, and I do already mostly know what's going on. You will actually see me drop quick saves a few times just because I gotta sort of remember which buttons on this controller actually tie to which things. Okay. So the first and possibly most annoying thing about this is camera control. So because this game was designed to be played on, Wiimote and Nunchuck, it was kind of out before even like the classic controller was a thing. Camera control is done by holding down the B button and moving the stick. If you do not hold down the B button, that same stick is actually just how you move. So as I'm moving around here, you may notice down at the bottom I've got a blue bar. And that blue bar will slowly deplete as I move. That is effectively our action economy. Essentially. Just without like an actual grid. It's much more loose and open. So I've got this little indicator in front of me with the star on it. That is actually my attack indicator. So I can put that on top of somebody, I can actually attack them. So what we've got here, this is just a katana. It's your pretty basic Dark Numa enemy mech. Additional things about the combat system, you'll see over to the left-hand side of that blue bar, I have sort of a wheel here. So I've got normal, super move, healing, joint. So those are the different actions I can take. Everything except normal just takes up one of my blue bars. You see the little sort of segments there. Super move generally hits super hard, but only takes up one bar. But when I've got this highlighted, you can see down below the blue bar, I've got a green bar and a red bar. The green bar is actually my health. The red bar is my spirit power, or my Numa. Super move requires a fair amount of Numa to pull off. Likewise, healing takes a small chunk of Numa, roughly about a third to a quarter of the bar. Joint attacks take no actual, or they take like the very small amount, like enough that you generally get that back just from a single attack. However, you do have to be in range of whoever you're doing it with, so I can actually switch who I'm trying to do a joint attack with, as you can see there. And it creates sort of this pillar here, and if I can, it hits everything in that pillar, but there is a limit to how far the range can go. So you see here it kind of grays out, which means it's out of range. The joint attacks also vary wildly in power depending upon your relationship with that person. So that's why, even though we're going for the Jiminy route here, I still am going to do my best to try and keep good relations with all the other pilots, because joint attacks work better that way. The other thing, and here's where I'm going to drop my first save to make sure I don't hit the wrong button. Okay, not that one. That one. So there's a little menu here. Right now, there's not a whole lot in it. We can do information just to kind of get details about the various things here. We can do situation, which just gives us an overview and reminds us of what our objectives are. So right now, we're just a part of the team. Starting with the next combat, we're actually going to be in command of the team. And in that situation, we actually get a lot more things we can do in that menu, but I'll talk about those when we get there. Now, the thing about normal attacks is a combo with anywhere from 1 to 5 hits, dependent upon how many times you hit the button, basically. You'll notice on the blue bar there, I have 2 spots set aside as SP and defense. SP is just charging that red bar down at the bottom. Defense is put yourself in a defensive stance, and you can kind of reduce damage taken. And those, where they are on the bar, indicates how many blue bars they take. You can do actions in any order. So right now I'm going to try... Okay, that was the wrong one. So it should be this one. There we go. So I've just put up my defense, which means I have the defense up. So I can take the rest of my turn now and still be defended between turns. Also, in this particular combat, we are only in control of Shinjiro. Again, starting with next combat, we will actually have control of all of our pilots. And you can see there, like, she ended off with sort of a big, more impressive move. That's what happens when you do the full 5-hit combo. Everyone has sort of a in-combo finisher. So everyone is a little bit different in certain regards. Yes, this is actually her doing her super move. Hitting one person with it for some reason. Yeah, so super moves, everyone's super moves have different sort of hit radiuses. Likewise, everyone's regular attacks also are different based on their weapons. So you can see there, Subaru, when she actually got in attack range or something, had a really big circle around herself. Everything in that circle actually gets hit by her attack. So she's actually a really good attacker. Both Ratchet and Karen have much longer ranges than Shinjiro, but conversely don't hit quite as hard. It's honestly not really an equivalent trade-off, though. The range difference often means you can pull off more attack combos, because you don't have to move as far to get in range of things. So here's Karen's super move. And you can also see there from when she attacked, she has a longer range and also an actual like pillar that she attacks in. So again, she can actually multi-hit as long as you line people up. Let's put it this way. I'll give you an example. So I can't do it right now because both people involved in a joint move need to have enough SP. But you can kind of see the cylinder there. That green thing indicates that I'm hitting him with it. As long as it touches them in any way, shape, or form, they are hit by it. It is super generous in that regard, which is nice because if I'm being real, maneuvering in this is kind of a nightmare. We're going to go ahead and do Shinjiro's full 5-hit here, just because there's nothing else really nearby that we need to defend against. Maybe. I don't know if I can... No, I can't get close enough and still have 5. So it'll be another 4-hit combo. One of the annoying things about doing the combos is you will almost never get to see the actual full attack animations of the the everything but the last attack, simply because if you do not hit the button fast enough, it ends the combo, and you have to hit the button before the previous animation ends, basically. So that conversation is supposed to be a big deal, except it's kind of ruined by literally the first time that Ratchet attacks in this combat. And this isn't like a random thing, like they pull a random quote. It's pretty much the only quote she has for this combat. The first time she attacks, she basically says, like, I can do this even if I'm injured. So it's not some big mystery. Ratchet is currently injured, but operating anyways. So Subaru is one of my favorite combatants in this game, solely based on the fact that her attack is ridiculous. Her basic attack is roughly the same strength as Karen and Ratchet's, but hits a huge circle around her. So it makes her supremely useful in most of the combats in this game. Yeah, that is another thing to mention, actually. For most people, verticality is not actually a factor in their attacks. So, you saw Karen was able to attack up top. Ratchet is able to attack up top because she's got throwing knives, so it makes sense. Right. Interrupting this combat. Thinking on it, I probably will like to talk about this character real quick here, just because we're not going to get an official introduction for quite a long while. So this is Ranmaru. My notes say, that rabbit came from the moon. There's implications of connections between this character and the moon, just because Japanese folklore and rabbits and the moon and all that stuff. Ranmaru is voiced by Dorothy Fawn, who didn't really have a lot of more recent credits to her name. She's somewhat of an older voice actor, had a lot of activity back in the 90s and early 2000s. Most recent stuff really was a character named Conan in Naruto. I have no idea who that is because I stopped watching Naruto after a certain point. She also voices CC2 in Neptunia. And back in the day, like I said, did stuff mostly a while back. She voiced both Meryl from Trigun and Kaoru from Rurouni Kenshin. So those are the most notable roles that I could find that kind of were recognizable to me. To my best of my information, it looks like Dorothy Fawn actually mostly works as a voice director now. Dark Numa. Evil Steam. Yes, this is the Garan. This is Ranmaru's giant mech. You could almost say she ran out of steam. I make no apologies. So I do have to say, despite them actually getting a very talented voice actor in Johnny Young Bosch for Shinjiro, they kind of waste it because most of his lines aren't voiced. I mean, you can totally just not do that one, but there's no real reason not to. Especially because you get points. Yeah, especially because you get points with both of them for actually doing that. So pretty much. You hear that, Gundam pilots? Every Gundam pilot? Yeah. Ogami, yeah. That's just an emulation issue. It happens. That particular emulation issue does not come up often, but it'll happen just a couple times. It's usually when they have a static backdrop and load in the animated character images over it. Yeah, it has to do with so like when it's in the like fully animated scenes like this, it's fine. It's just in that particular one that was a particularly static backdrop that was then had the animation stuff loaded over it, and it creates those weird boxes. He's kind of an idiot, but he sticks to his guns. Yeah. Yeah, so this is where he can teach you about joint attacks, but again, I already explained that, so we don't care. So, now that we're in command... Oh, they still don't add it until next time. That's annoying. Well, regardless. You can see a bunch more of the sort of junk troops popped up. Not a big deal. So that's the 5-hit combo from Shinjiro. At the moment, he still doesn't really do enough, even with the 5-hit combo, to actually kill anybody. But yeah, now we do have control over our whole squad. So yeah, as you can see here, I position myself there, and that means that when I do this full 5-hit combo, both of them are hit by it. And again, they do not divide damage across the number of targets hit or anything like that, so each of them still takes just as much damage as they would take if they were the only one being hit by her combo, so that's kind of a nice thing. It enables characters with a decent hit range like Subaru to actually just take out a lot of enemies. Oh, one notable thing about the healing move, you can use that either on yourself or on another nearby ally. So you can... True. There is... Diana sort of is a dedicated healer, kind of, in that her super move is just a full heal for whoever she hits with it. But other than that, actual healing, everyone is capable of healing. Nobody's healing is any more effective than anyone else's, and it is just, you can use it either on yourself, or if you're near another star, you can use it on them. Yeah, because he was basically already down. He's just had that last lingering little bit. So you can kind of notice here, there's not technically a vertical limit to Karen's attack, except, it should be on top of him right about there. But for it to actually trigger, I have to be really close. So it actually kind of takes the vertical out of the actual horizontal for her, which is mildly annoying, but not a deal breaker by any means. I can't help it. And yes, the notable exception to that verticality thing I was talking about, Shinjiro can't hit anything on a vertical level because he just uses swords. Not particularly. Technically speaking, his actual stat boosts that come from the relationship stuff are actually higher than other people's, so he does kind of get better growth than them, but not at a level that makes up for the fact that he sucks. Yeah. The only compensation Shinjiro gets is if you do all the proper requirements for it, he gets the absolutely gross super move at the end of the game. And technically, Shinjiro is the only one who has a super move with an actual infinite range. It's just that it's an infinite vertical range, which only matters in like 2 battles in this entire game. That and more so, just if there happen to be enemies that are in a decent vertical range of each other, he can wipe out all of them with a single super move, essentially. So the weird thing about the movement is it only judges how far distance from your starting point. So if you do something like this, as long as you have the movement necessary to actually get around there, I've technically only moved like 1 bar away from where I started. The stars can't jump for shit. They can turn into jets, but they can't jump for shit. They're heavy, man. What do you want? Let's see if I can cheese this. Yep. The red one? No, no, no! Oh, that was the eject. Ah! That's fine. Yeah, so even with the thumbstick, that's still kind of hard to do. I'm not sure where that comes from, seeing as we, like, quite specifically know the robot is named Garan. So again, another tutorial thing here, but I'm not going to take it because it's pretty simplistic. So, this is our first effective boss fight of this game. Every major Numa demon has a giant robot of some sort, and you will almost always face them in jet mode, actually. So, there are a few notable differences with flight mode here. First off, that's as far as my camera goes. I do not have actual full 360 camera control. It will only go not even quite 90 degrees either direction. However, actual movement is just on a cylinder, effectively. As I travel around, you'll see sort of those grayish crosshairs show up on things. I can switch between any targets that currently have those up. And technically, you can target things off screen as long as you're in range to them. It's just sometimes hard to know whether or not you have range to them. But in general, you can just kind of hit the. So the way you switch targets is with left and right on the D-pad, and if you hit that, it'll auto target anything that's on that's actually targetable, even if it's off screen. So controls wise, most of the bars are still the same. We still have our normal stuff. We've got joint attacks, which instead of being the cylinder between the two, is now this sort of triangle. Yeah, it's a whole like wedge thing that you can hit things with. Healing still works the same. Again, you can heal yourself. If you're near another one, you can, just like with attacks, you can change the healing target. And then super moves. Everyone still has a super move. However, super moves are different for flight mode than for the regular star mode. And then also, just like on foot, you have a 5-hit combo. Yep. Yep. With most bosses, the thing you want to do generally is try and take down its attacks as much as possible, because they all have a lot of attacks and they're all really powerful and really annoying. Also, generally, each part of a boss monster like this actually has its own action. So you might have noticed like that when that happened, there was only one bar in the actual action bar, but that's literally just for that sort of rough cannon thing. The scythe had its own action, the other hand, I believe, has its own action, and the head has its own action. So that's the thing that triggers the first time you get hit in this combat. It's just a little thing where they're like, hey, don't give up just because you got a scratch, and Shin's like, fuck off. Kind of. So yes and no about that. The only one that really gives you shit through the whole game is Karen, but at a certain point it starts to become more joking ribbing than its actual, like, mean-spirited. Subaru eventually, actually pretty quickly, comes to realize that you're capable. Ratchet, basically at the time she, like, handed off command to you here, was basically when she was like, you know what, okay, no, maybe he is worthwhile. And then Jiminy and Diana, neither of them ever really regard you that way, because they weren't there for the whole decision with Ogami. So the only ones that would are basically Karen, Subaru, and Ratchet. Ratchet and Subaru knock it off pretty quickly, and Karen, like I said, keeps it up through most of the game, but at a certain point you can tell it's gone from being actual criticism to more of like an inside joke kind of thing. It does take until like episode 3 or 4 for Karen to get the stick out of her ass, though, which is kind of annoying. So for most boss fights, I tend to just ignore the random trash that's around, because they don't really do enough damage for it to matter. You can also see it's like Karen's super move is this huge fucking column. Yeah, in general, it's more important to try and eliminate the parts of the boss before dealing with the random Daikyu and such. Yeah, and they also hit way harder than the actual regular enemies. You can also hit B to skip the attack animations. Yeah, so that's what the rough cannon is actually called, is the death flare. So here's Subaru's flight mode super move. So taking out the tank on this guy's back is actually pretty important because it's got some healing ability. So that's kind of what I'm prioritizing right now. This might clip it, we'll see. Yep. Okay, no, it did not clip the tank. So this is where it really comes into being super fiddly, like I was talking about, is flight mode more so than ground mode, just because it has a time determining targeting. So flight mode does. It's just, again, you have to. Yeah, the camera is not great in flight mode, which makes it much more difficult to figure out. That's because I ran out of SP. Yeah, I used healing mode, and that took up enough SP that I did not have enough left to do super move or joint attack. So another interesting thing of note is, as you can see here, any of the pilots can actually do a super move with any other pilots. So there is actually a relationship between the girls, as well as a relationship between the girls and Shinjiro. You have less influence over that, but that just kind of happens naturally. Somewhere around here, I can get target on this head. Yeah, so this is where flight mode becomes kind of annoying and fiddly, basically, is just trying to find what spot the game wants you to be in order to actually have an angle on the target, essentially. Well, Subaru, Subaru. There we go. Okay, there we go. And the other reason being for ignoring sort of the trash during the boss fights is just as soon as you defeat the actual boss, the boss fight is over. You don't actually have to kill all the enemies. So combat in this game is not particularly difficult. If we're being real, it's not designed to be a hard game. Like, as long as you're not a complete idiot at it, you basically will never really be at risk of losing a pilot. Especially once we get access to the more strategic options that we'll have, starting with the next combat. There we go, first boss down. They'll be back. Uh huh. Victory pose! So this is sort of a tradition thing. At the end of each chapter, through most of the original Sakura Wars games 1 through 4, Ogami would either write a letter to his sister or to his nephew, Shinjiro. In this one, at the end of each chapter, Shinjiro writes a letter to his mother about what happened. And thus ends Chapter 1. Hong Kong? Uh-huh. It's an anime. No, this game is anime as fuck. It does not try to pretend for a second that it's not just anime as fuck. So you can see here, we've gone from like rookie to hope, which is our actual stat bonuses, and then motivations are their stat bonuses. And friendship-wise, we're slowly starting to form friendships with our pilots. Yes. It will not show anyone who's not currently an active pilot. Right. Yeah. So the hope today is to get through episode 2. We've got about 2 hours and a little bit before I have to get going. So hopefully we'll be able to do that. The episodes are usually not that long. Episode 1 was a much longer episode than most of the rest, just due to having all the intro stuff. The law. Book the law. So yes, the answer to where the hell did those evil robots come from is we don't know. Somewhere. Soak that one in. Uh-huh. Keeping in mind that Numa, again, is basically just spirit and also steam. Mm-hmm. Kind of. $28. No, those were not around in those were not around in 28. Eh. It was out of focus a little bit. Yeah. Doesn't matter too much for that one. That one's just a. You can get a couple points with Ratchet there if you just take a photo specifically of Ratchet. But I'm not too worried about that. Laura Bailey does that enough. I don't need you to. Yeah. Yeah. Right? What's this one? Chekhov's sword. Why do they call it that? I don't know. Wait until the third act. Notably, by the way, they chose to go with calling it the Demon Blade, even though the actual display card down at the bottom very clearly in English says like Sword of the Overlord. All right, why don't you explain it to me, fucking Apollo Justice? Are you? Yeah, are you confusing me for my uncle again? Because he's a spy? And we lost her. I have tchotchkes to sell to idiots. Captain in training, still the usher. Yeah, so one thing about Sakura Wars characters, they never really try and make them much more than one note. Yeah, we weren't sure it was going to work. You might have exploded when you pulled that lever. I what? Yeah, so now that we actually have full access to the Cameratron, we get this special thing. Not the people, actually. So basically, you're looking for background scenery for whoever the featured member is. So in each chapter, there will be a different theme member for the program. And basically, we need to go find, during the time we have free time during the given chapter, we have to go find the appropriate place, take a background shot, take a photo of it, bring it back to Cherry. I do know most of them off the top of my head. For the rest of them, I'll probably just look them up in a guide. It's not a big deal. And since it's a new chapter, yep. Okay, I already got Ratchet last time. Guess we'll grab Karen this time. Eh. It's not actually that. There's not actually that much interaction with Henri. All right. So first things first, we're going to go take care of this real quick. Jiminy is the featured member, so it's supposed to take a place of like Jiminy's favorite place. And when she was showing us around, she brought up that she really likes Maggie's. So, yep, pretty much. Okay. Yeah, basically, it's character design stuff. Okay, we're gonna reload, do that again, because again, not exactly the most responsive thing on the sticks here. There we go. Swirling soft serve ice cream. So amusingly, we can actually just go straight back to Harlem. Yep. Subaru, take me to Harlem. Yeah, we can kind of wander as we want, and it's not taking up time to check areas, basically. I had to. For reference, the correct option there was just don't worry about her. Basically. And so we come to the first mid episode save. And again, I'm by no means trying to do a perfect playthrough of this or anything. I don't care that much. If you apologize, it means you think you did something wrong. Look, the Japanese legal system is really weird. Our lawyers mostly just stand across the courtroom from each other, yell, and slap things. Yep. Oh, just wait until we get through the rest of this chapter. There we go. Yeah. Introduction time. So this is Kokuryu Hime. My notes say, I must break you. Uh, she's voiced by Melody Spivak, who has like 100 minor roles and side characters in all kinds of things, ranging from anime to games to Star Trek. My personal favorites include VT, Victoria Terpsichore, the heavy metal queen from Cowboy Bebop, Mikami Kuramitsu, the head of the Galaxy Police Academy in the Tenchi Muyo universe, and the Queen of Ruins from Space Pirate Captain Harlock Outside Legend Endless Odyssey, which I may be the only person on this planet who ever actually watched. Also, she voiced like 36 Digimon, but that is true of literally every professional voice actor ever through some bizarre quantum entanglement thing. There is no choice you make there which does not lose you points with someone. Sunnyside's a humongous dork. Yeah, a lot of this chapter doesn't matter so much what choices you make, because you make up a ton of it at the tail end. Yep. Plot device, the character, for like the first half of this game. I understand now. Thank you, crippled bird woman. It's legal now. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right, so already under the next interstitial save. Like I said, aside from like chapter 1 and one of the later chapters, these chapters tend to move pretty fast. Yeah, he does have commentary about a bunch of different places if you go to them, but it's mostly just kind of like, oh, there's not going to be anything here. Whatever. Yes, but some of them are trap options. Back over here. Yeah, pretty much. You're not wrong. I don't actually remember if there's anything else I'm supposed to do other than just wait for the trial to happen, so I'm just kind of bouncing back between these areas. No idea. Uh, there's something else, but I can't remember how to actually get it. Possibly. Nah, it's fine. Okay, well, let's see. Trying to remember. Yeah. There we go. Yeah. So, this game has a little bit of casual racism. Yep. And dropping a save here because this is another one of those mini game challenges. There we go. Okay. And let's see. The nun at the church wanted to talk to us, so let's go check that out. She had a good heart, but she got lost along the way to becoming a lawyer. Not inaccurate. Alright, and one last thing to do here. I think I actually have to go into the area maybe to do this. Yeah. Alright, so I think we have enough evidence to do the trial now. Now I just got to remember how to actually trigger that. There we go. There is a place you can go to immediately start it, but you can also just waste time and you'll get there. So this second section, you just kind of throw everything out there. Probably. Yeah. Yep, basically. Yep. Mr. Sunnyside, what are you doing here? Land grab, Chin. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, that is literally the symbol for Sagittarius, so, you know. Who, amusingly, is Chiron the Archer Centaur. This game is not subtle. Fortunately, there's an eccentric billionaire tied to this project. Yep. Yep. How can you tell? She's wearing a mask. Yep. Yep, so here's another important point. Now that we're the captain, we get to call the move out. It's usually best to max this out. It increases the motivation for any pilots you have. So yeah, now it makes sense because she uses a motorcycle. Mm-hmm. Correct. Secret base. Nobody knows the combat review is tied to the Little Lip Theater. Nope. So we're going to drop a save here, and I'm going to show off that. Save. So you can see. Yep, so we got another medal on Shin, which means that our stuff is boosted, and Karen is highly motivated, which means she has massive boosts to attack and move and everything. And you can also see our friendship with her has become stronger. Yep, I'm going to explain those as soon as combat starts here. These are two combats back-to-back. There's the first part, and then there's the actual boss monster fight. We might not have time to get to the boss monster fight. We'll see how it goes. Might have to drop a save state, and we'll continue that next week. As usual, I will explain how this works. So what that is, what I was going over right there, is there's actually sort of a rotating thing that happens on this particular combat map where lightning will strike. So there's 3 areas you can see down in the bottom right there. The one we are in is the one that has the star on it. If we're in a place where we can move to another area, it'll have the sort of blinking thing to show us where we can go from there. And in this instance, it also shows us the paths to all the areas. So technically, we can go from this area to any of the other areas. Multi-area maps are kind of the standard from this point forward. There are a few that are still single area, but most of the time we end up in multi-area maps. Hey, bestie, how's it going? And so the new things that we got access to. So there's area move, which is that's just how we transfer. But down here at the bottom, we have these 3 commands, which are only ours now that we are actually in command of everything. So first, we've got our stratagem. By default, we're in the Gi stratagem, which is the flexible stratagem. It means that speed is up, but overall is just sort of the general one. There is I believe that one is Shin, which is the aggressive stratagem. Attack is up. You cannot use the healing command. Defense costs more, special charge costs less. And then there is the tie stratagem, which is the defensive stratagem. Guard is up. SP charge is super expensive, but defense costs 1. You cannot use super moves while in the tie defensive stratagem. I typically set off in the tie stratagem. Now, you can change stratagems basically once per round, essentially. Since I just changed stratagems with Shin, I can't change stratagem again right now. Actually, I can. I think once I actually move off of Shin's turn, there's basically a delay until I can change again. Then we also have Protect and Help Me. So Protect is essentially I choose one character, and Shin devotes himself to defending them. And then Help Me is I can essentially ask for a character to help me, and it basically teleports them to me, and also gives us some points with them for motivation. So the trick to it is that you want to do that on whichever character you've got most highly motivated in a given chapter, because it'll continue to help boost their motivation, and technically speaking, if you get motivation high enough and meet certain requirements, you go from a regular joint attack to what's called a coupling attack, which is an incredibly powerful move with special animations and everything. So now this particular map, there's that generator in the back there, and the whole point is we've got to destroy those. There's one in each of the 3 areas. Also, you can destroy random stuff around the stages most of the time. So like here, I could technically destroy that basketball goal if I felt like it. They impede movement, but that's about it. Like, it's usually not all that useful, honestly. And as soon as Karen's turn comes up, you'll see the other benefit of high motivation. Notice her blue bar. Yeah, when somebody is highly motivated, they get a ton of actions, basically. There we go. And then, yeah, every few turns, this will happen, and then it cycles to the next area being under threat of being hit by thunder. And there, she took 0 damage, again, because we had the Protect command up on her, so it'll block an attack thrown against her, and, as you heard, gain us some points with her. Yep. So yeah, you can kind of see how there's sort of the little shocks kind of traveling around this area now. That means that it's about to be struck by lightning. So the next time lightning strikes, it will hit this area. I don't remember. Regardless, I'm going to have Shin actually move on to the next area. It doesn't do a whole ton of damage either, so it's not a huge problem, but you don't want to stand around and take those a bunch, basically. Also, Shin will still protect even from other areas. Some amount of time. I'm not actually sure on that. And then once the generator in an area is destroyed, you can kind of leave that area. The enemies don't matter. There's no, like, experience or any rewards for killing enemies in this game, so there's literally no reason to actually continue there. Of course. Yeah, this is them telling you about the stratagem command. Yeah, for the majority of combat, I tend to stay in the defensive formation, just because that's sort of how I play. All three of them definitely have their benefits, though. And you can manually end your turn through that menu as well, in the event that, like... So it'll automatically trigger to that if you're in such a place as to, like, you use your last blue bar. But if you use your last blue bar on movement, it will not actually automatically trigger to the end turn effect. So in that case, you would have to pop it open and manually select to end turn. I could. It'd be stupid, but I could. So lightning's going to strike again. It's fine. So yeah, Kara doesn't really take much damage from enemy attacks right now because her defense is so high because of her motivation. So I'm not, like, super concerned about her getting hit by stuff, basically. Not available right now because we're in the defensive strategy. Yeah. Yeah, we did see it in the actual, like, demo thing. And there's generator number 2 down. Camera. And generator 3 is back there somewhere, I think. Take that, turret. Teach you. Yes, the generator's right there. So it's kind of that, like, technically speaking, I could sit here and try and, like, work on eliminating all these dudes, or I could just pile into that generator. Essentially. So I'm just trying to remember where the actual area transfer is. I believe it's over here. There we go. Technically speaking, there's a way to pull it up. I just can never remember what button it is. Yeah. Yeah, again, because of her high motivation, she's not really at risk of being actually killed by enemies right now. And just to... Okay. Yeah, so you basically, when I used the Protect, you could see, initially it said X3. Now it says X0. So you basically get 3 instances of it. Period. It will last until it happens 3 times, essentially. Yep. So we stopped the storm that was destroying Harlem and setting it on fire and all that. But now this happens. Yep, this is Kusakage. Yeah. Diplomatic immunity! Yeah. So I was curious about this when I first ran into this, so I did look it up, and this is actually not an anachronism. The New York subway has actually been in operation since 1904. I believe it was still electric, it was just not nearly as efficient. When you transition, a lot of times it'll reset things. In this case, it actually does keep the stratagem that we had. But, as you may notice, we have 3 protects again. And this mission in particular is actually really annoying if you don't eliminate all the fodder. So it's one of the few where I actually will do that. Because there is a lot you have to do in this. So importantly, enemy weapons do still have firing arcs, essentially. So the reason why it seemed like she just kind of did a whole bunch of nothing there is because quite literally none of us are actually in a position where she can hit us. Yep. And so it kind of animated, but then did nothing. So you may notice down in the bottom right there is technically an area transfer in this map. Strictly speaking, we can actually land on the subway that's going down below and fight in robot form rather than flight form. This is not actually terribly useful. So yeah, here comes the subway. We can totally land on that for reasons. Well, the other thing about that... So you notice how, like, Subaru's attack here is this huge cone, or, like, circle, like cylinder? That'll still multi-hit. That will hit everything in that cylinder when you make that attack. Even though it doesn't make sense since it's just a bunch of missiles. So now that we mostly destroyed all the minions, there's like the one down there on the subway. Now we start methodically picking apart the boss attack by attack. So we're going to start with the tail spear here, since at the moment it's the only one that actually threatens us in any real way. Also just going to go ahead and drop a defense in advance, because why not? So yeah, she does fly back and forth. Well, again, I had Protect up on her. Nope. Uh-huh. Hacking nothing. We're the defense forces. We just have access. Okay, so what's kind of interesting there is now that the tail spear has blown up, that does actually mean, I believe, that the next time a train shows up, she can't actually destroy it. And you can also see that there's the sort of tail segments there that we're wrecking. We did actually destroy the first two there. It's just very hard to tell the visible difference between them being destroyed and not. Basically. Also, one thing I didn't show off yet. So let's say I make a huge move and then I'm like, oh wait, I didn't want to go there. If you hit return, it'll actually just reset you to where you started from for that turn. Yeah, and the reason we're taking out the dragon scales is because they do that attack, which is really annoying. And here comes the new train. So Karen actually has angle on her arm, so we're going to start working on that. Yeah, the bosses actually tend to. The first boss is an exception because it is supposed to be sort of a tutorial boss. After that point, they start having just a lot of health. Subaru's way over there. So we'll do this because it'll actually hit two sections. So that is preferable. Also, yeah, there's a little bit of a different animation for the joint attack in flight mode. Yeah. The runway, yeah. Okay. Can't really hit anything with the joint attack, so instead... Alright, so we'll run a little long here. I was planning on stopping at 5 originally, but we can run a little bit longer just to finish off this boss fight. It's not actually going to take too much longer. Yep. I saved that for the end, actually. Because after we eliminate the arms is how we actually get access to her core, and that's where the like actual final battle is, basically. And it's usually my method is typically just to kind of slam a chain of super attacks into it. Yeah. Yep. The bottom area is just the subway. That's actually landing on the train. Like, where I'm at right now, I could have Shinjiro and Karen both actually land on there. It's just, honestly, yeah, kind of pointless. Okay. We are going to use this to try and boost her again. And we'll fire off a joint attack, because it does more damage than a single combo strike. And the right arm is down. So we do actually have access to her core now, but I am going to spend a little bit of time getting rid of that left arm, just so that it takes out that attack. Yes, part of the other reason I do not tend to go to the attack boost strategy very often is because it eliminates the ability to use healing. How do you mean? Oh, the little thing. Oh, the motivation swirls? Just Steam. It's all Steam. Yep. Mission Spirit, Shin. Yeah, we've seen it. Yep. Yep. Harlem. Shit, by this time we're under New Jersey. We've been in this subway tunnel for 3 hours. She is the law. Everyone should follow what she says, because she is the law. She may... There is no real further motivation than that. Yeah, pretty much. After that incident, Karen stopped doing business with Steam Frontier, and she started teaching. She said she wanted to find a way to protect the people of Harlem. Life is study. And there's one other thing that's changed, and that is... So we're going to drop a save there and call it for the day. And we'll be back. We'll be back tomorrow playing some Super Robot Wars T right around 2 p.m. Pacific. And then we'll be back on Tuesday playing something at like 7 p.m. Pacific. And we'll be back next Saturday again around 2 p.m. Pacific to come back to Sakura Wars So Long My Love and meet the bane of my fucking existence. Anyways, thank you for joining us. I've been Josh, or Bograt. Have a good one, everyone.